Hi, everyone. I'm Kara Sundlin. It's Thursday, January 20th. Let's take a look at what was happening in Connecticut today in history. 1 year ago today, President Joe Biden became the 46th president of the United States. Channel 3's Sharon Johnson spoke with people who were at the inauguration.
We're experiencing such a monumental moment in history, and I wanted to be able to be there and experience it there.
Robert and Sadie Sanville drove more than 350 miles from Ellington to witness a moment that will be in history books. The Sanvilles say it wasn't what they were expecting when they first decided to go back in November.
It's unfortunate in the end that because of the events of last 2 weeks ago that that we weren't able to see more of the inauguration.
But Sadie, a political science major, and her father made it a point to get there regardless of the roadblocks. They say the streets of Washington looked like an occupation, with troops patrolling checkpoints, dozens of roads blocked off, and even subway stations shut down.
We went down into the Black Lives Matter Plaza, and we spent most of our time there.
They say that was the closest they could get to the ceremony, but there was still plenty of action. They were among a sea of Biden supporters, flags, banners, and hopeful energy.
They had a huge mic set up with a speaker playing the inauguration, so we could hear the speeches and such.
It's a moment the two say they'll never forget.
It was very positivistic, very unifying, very conciliatory.
I don't think I'll ever be able to forget listening to Joe Biden's inaugural speech around everybody and hearing them cheer and stuff.
And a memory they'll pass on to future generations.
I think the feeling of optimism and hope is what I would like to pass down to my children and grandchildren.
5 years ago, the longtime restaurant Hot Tomatoes abruptly closed. Matthew Campbell went to that restaurant for answers.
We learned this is more like an eviction rather than a sudden departure. We went to housing court and learned that this bitter battle has been brewing for months, and it's leaving one bride wondering why this restaurant booked her rehearsal dinner just weeks ago. Camille Velez is going to get married in April. Her rehearsal dinner was supposed to be at the fixture at Union Station, Hot Tomatoes. How many people were supposed to come?
Between around 80, actually.
Tonight, she's stunned to see the doors locked with this sign greeting her.
A little angry, definitely upset about it.
The Italian staple in Hartford's food scene suddenly closed yesterday. Today, we learned it's the result of a bitter dispute between the restaurant and its landlord, the Greater Hartford Transit District. They say Hot Tomatoes hasn't paid rent and owes upwards of $11,000. In housing court documents, the restaurant contends its landlord hired a contractor that created massive problems to their ventilation systems and water pipes. Court documents show they're refusing to pay until repairs are done, leading to this abrupt departure.
Just a little information or just an email would have been nice to have known.
But court records show this dispute traces back to September, so Camille doesn't understand why the restaurant still took her $200 deposit late last year.
They were very attentive initially.
But that healthy communication soon became a one-way conversation.
In the last couple weeks, I've been sending emails and I haven't heard anything back.
While she's scrambling for a new venue, she's also looking for answers, but they're not easy to come by. Now, we did reach out to the restaurant and its attorney. Neither were available today, but we did learn that the next hearing date will be early next month. That's the latest here in Hartford. Matthew Campbell, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
10 years ago, the city of Hartford was preparing for snow and put into effect a brand new snow emergency plan. Channel 3's Heather Hedges had that story.
It's winter. It's supposed to snow.
And even though we haven't seen much snow this winter so far, after 2011's double whammy, first Irene, then Alfred, Mayor Pedro Segarra asked the Office of Emergency Management, the City Fire Department, and the city's Department of Public Works to come up with an emergency plan for how to deal with snow removal and parking problems during winter snowstorms. And only a day after that plan was revealed, it's now being put into action for the first time. Some people we spoke with were surprised.
Overreaction.
Why?
It's not going to snow that much, and is our first or second snowstorm.
The plan sets plowing priorities, ordering contractors to first plow hospitals, then the most heavily traveled roads, before side roads and neighborhoods. And there are other parts of the plan the city wants you to know about, too. First, the city wants to remind residents, call 311 if there's a problem. For example, your street isn't plowed or you have a tree down. Second, the city wants to remind residents that shoveling or throwing snow in the road not only is counterproductive to the plows, but it's a safety hazard that's potentially punishable by a fine. And third, the city says it's doing its best to make sure safety's first. And new this year, all contractors' equipment will be inspected by a city superintendent to make sure taking care of the snow doesn't come with a price.
That's a look at today in Connecticut history.